We're going to do a little bit of maintenance on our boat trailer jack. Sometimes this thing gets a little bit stuck or a little bit stiff, and basically when you service it you can get it working smooth again. So you start off by getting under here, popping this cap up. This particular one, you'll see right here there's a pin that holds the gear in place, and basically you gotta pull that out or actually drive it out with a punch. So I won't be able to do it with while trying to hold the camera, but basically you're gonna hammer this little pin right where the pliers is, punch it out, and that'll allow the handle to be pulled out, and then the whole assembly can be accessed. So I'll punch that pin out, and then we'll continue on. I had to take the jack off the trailer. It was really difficult getting this pin out. Basically I had to keep pounding it, and then I finally got it out. So it's going to take a bit of work. I used this punch here and basically pounded it with a hammer, if you can see, right down into that hole. I pounded it right out as far as I could. Then I had to switch up to a little bit thinner punch to get it all the way out, and then I grabbed the pin with a vice grip and got the rest of it out. Guys, so now I want to mention, when you're driving that pin out, I was using this thicker one, to start it off, and I was having trouble punching the pin all the way through, but you have to go to a really thin one because it was getting hung up in the hole, and once you use a thinner one it'll drive it right straight through. So that's a tip. Start off with a thick one and then finish with a thin one. Basically this handle comes out now. I think it just comes out one way right there. So the handle's out, guys, and now basically you're left with your gears inside. I'm going to pull those out, and then basically take there's a dowel pin that you have to pull out, and once that pin comes out, basically the whole lower shaft assembly with the wheels will drop out, and that's going to be your threaded rod in there that you have to basically lube up really well, because that's what'll get dried up and get stiff. So I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to pull those out of there. Basically, actually I might be able to just do it with my hands. Basically that's one gear right there. Basically you can see the slot that the pin rides through, and I'm gonna put that down here. The second gear, there it is. It's all full of grease. I'm gonna clean all these up nice, re-lube them real good, and then down inside there's a little dowel pin, hard to see. Basically gonna push that out to one side. Once you pop that out, then the rest of the assembly will drop down. And basically it sits down inside of here. Just, you can push it as far as you can with your finger, then grab a pair of needle nose, grab the pin, throw it off to the side, and now pretty much the assembly should drop down, and then I'll show you the thread. Basically I've just released, once you take that dowel pin out, this whole assembly will slide down, and you'll see on this one here there's a stack of washers with a bearing right there in the center, which allows it to rotate freely. Basically remove that, and then basically you can see how the shaft, there's no grease on it at all. So basically I'm going to extend this thread right out and then lube it all up and put it all back. So I'll show you that in a moment. Your punch or something in it, and basically it's hard to do with one hand, but basically I'm just going to back this thread all the way out, and that's the way to do it, guys. It's pretty long. Basically goes inside this shaft. It's a reverse thread on there, so basically you gotta tighten it to extend it out, where normally you think you'd be loosening it. So you tighten it, it'll extend out on the reverse thread, and basically there's just basically that's like a nut right there, and the thread just moves up and down inside of it. So I'm gonna clean this all up, guys, grease it really well, and then basically extend it right back down, clean this shaft all up nice, and start to assemble it all back together. So I'll show you after I've got the grease all back on there, but pretty much you know what to do, guys. Repacked with grease, and I'm just gonna thread the shaft back in. I'm gonna repack the bearings and the washers. So basically that's it, guys. Getting close to getting it all put back together. Greased it. Now I'm just gonna thread it back up. Once you have it up there, line your pin up. You may need some needle nose pliers. Okay, got the pin in, center it. Now you can get your gears again, put a lot of grease on it. Basically you gotta center it. Drop it in until it sits on top. And repack your next gear. Then you put your handle back in. Gonna line up the hole. Make sure it's all lined up. And get your pin. And you gotta drive your pin back in. And that's it. You're done. So basically check if everything's working good, running smooth. That's it, guys. That's how you repack and rebuild one of these things. You might have to do it every once in a while if it gets stiff. Like and subscribe, guys. Check out my other maintenance tip videos. See ya.